Chelsea Football Club, are they serious? They've gone from beating Arsenal in the Premier League, very much cementing their place in a title race, to losing to relegation battling Leeds. Manchester City, they've got a transfer update coming. Big news coming from Manchester City. Potentially, the title race could be swung in Manchester City's favour if the news is to be believed that Manchester City are to sign some players in January and bolster their squad. Liverpool, fans, you guys, are you sticking by Slot? Is it time for him to go? Albeit you clawed a goal back. It seemed like Florian Wirtz had got that goal, but was it enough? Is it enough for the form? Is it enough for the season? Are you going to stick by Slot, or is it time to go? Let me know your thoughts, but let's start with Chelsea, because, following that game against Arsenal, where they were quality, Chelsea's intensity, a few changes have been made, but they should be able to adapt and utilise their squad. And bringing in a few new fresh faces for the starting 11, it shouldn't see a capitulation like that. If you are serious about challenging for a Premier League title, you cannot be dropping points following a fantastic performance against Arsenal. The performance was brilliant, and then Leeds, disaster class. Every single one of their goals was avoidable, filled with mistakes. Even the players that are more reliable were making mistakes in this game. The likes of Enzo Fernandez with a few sloppy touches. Leeds, as a City fan, I'm well aware of what they're capable of, because they showed in the second half against Manchester City the week before that they can come back from 2-0 down and get it back to 2-2, and were unlucky not to get a point. But still, they may be taking a bit of that confidence that they gained in the second half into this game. But Chelsea were just miles off. It could have been 4, possibly more for Leeds. It really could have been. Chelsea, are you genuine title contenders? Because they very much were after the Arsenal game. And then 1 week later, days later, less than a week later, we're talking about it's over. Chelsea are just not the real deal. They cannot be considered a genuine title contender by performing like that. And I'm very much in that camp as well, which is very fickle. And I was very concerned about Chelsea following the Arsenal performance, but it's been calmed. As a Manchester City fan, I'm not as bothered about Chelsea anymore as I was after the Arsenal game. So let me know your thoughts on that one. Speaking of Manchester City and being a Manchester City fan, January transfer market is soon to be opened. And it's exciting for Manchester City because there are 2 massive players that we've been linked with. Question marks over whether we get both in January. Unlikely, in all honesty. The first player, of course, is Antoine Semenyo. £65 million release clause. Bournemouth may be eager to get this deal over the line, because reports are suggesting that release clause can actually drop to closer to 50 million in summer. There's also on top of that, a 20% release clause, sell-on clause for Semenyo, for Bristol City, who will cash in if it was roughly around 11 million or thereabouts for Semenyo in January. So obviously Bournemouth, they'll be losing 20% of the fee, so they want to command as big a fee as possible. They have become a bit of a selling club in recent times, with the likes of Dean Huijsen leaving the football club, Kerkez leaving the football club. Quality players that have gone on to bigger and better things. And Bournemouth's recruitment has been fantastic, and Antoine Semenyo is likely going to be another player to leave the football club. But Liverpool sniffing around. Are they going to be able to go big in January? Because they're being linked with Mark Gay, of course. And did you see his cross yesterday for Crystal Palace? What a cross that was for Munoz to nod it in to make it 1-0 Crystal Palace. Great cross from Mark Gay. So Liverpool's priorities might be elsewhere, because it's their defence is the key problem for them. So are they going to go as big and hard, want for a better word there, but for Semenyo, are they going to go in full strength for Semenyo in January? Well, it seems like Manchester City are genuinely keen on making this a priority signing in January. I'm not entirely convinced personally. I'm a little bit unsure about Manchester City's transfer dealings in recent times, because you only need to go back to last January and a little bit beyond that, and even last summer, arguably, to question the logic behind Manchester City's transfer business. You're looking at January. Marmoush. How many minutes has he got? He started the season injured, but how many minutes has he genuinely got? We've got another Alvarez situation there. We've got a quality player that's got goals in him, but he just can't get in the starting 11. You're looking at Kusanov. Everyone wants him to play. One for the future, you'd argue. One for the future. But still, a lot of City fans, me included, want to see him get a bit more game time than he's getting right now. He's getting virtually none at the minute. Virtually nothing. Vita Hayes. Again, he's had to go out on loan. Maybe he comes back and shines at Manchester City once he's finished his loan spell. Have to wait and see on that one. But he came in for big money, and he's had to go out on loan to find some game time. James Trafford. We immediately signed Donnarumma. It seems a bit uncertain. It seems a bit scattergun approach from Manchester City. It seems like they don't know what they're doing, in all honesty, because I don't understand those names I've just given you. Nico Gonzalez was a fantastic bit of business in January. So while there has been some questionable signings for Manchester City because they're just not getting the game time, maybe it's good to have that depth in the squad. Ultimately, these players, and Marmoush in particular, he should be getting more game time. A player of that quality to not be getting in the starting 11, he's got to be concerned about his future now at Manchester City. So to go in for Semenyo in January, when we pulled up the drawbridge on Savinho. We said no to Spurs, who wanted to sign Savinho for 70 plus million for Savinho. And the form of Savinho this season has been pretty poor. And that's being polite. Poor from Savinho this season. So who's now going to spend 70 million? Because Spurs are reportedly interested in signing Semenyo. United as well. So, I mean, if you're Semenyo and you've got the options of Man United, Spurs, Liverpool, and Manchester City, I think the latter two, in terms of Liverpool and Manchester City, are going to be your preference. I can't see him choosing United and Spurs over City or Liverpool, in all honesty, but you never know. But that could make Spurs get a cleaner run at Savinho, open the door again to the Savinho transfer. But City were willing to reject 70 plus million for Savinho. Again, question marks over whether City are doing the right things in the transfer market, and it's a little bit reactive from Manchester City. And you're questioning that. The other player they were linked with, Elliot Anderson. This one seems more like a summer one than a January one, in all honesty, but the reports are saying that Manchester City are that keen. The player himself, Elliot Anderson, is keen. He is eager to join Manchester City. You got to deal with Marinakis, though. Spurs found out the hard way last summer, with Morgan Gibbs-White. It's a very difficult club owner to deal with and get a deal over the line. If he says no, it's no. He'll find a way to make it not happen. So Elliot Anderson in January, that's going to be a really tough one. Who is he coming in to replace? Probably the likes of Bernardo Silva and Kovacic, which makes me think more of a summer signing. Makes more sense. Let him flourish a little bit more in Forest's colours, and I think he's doing a great job this season. He looks absolutely sensational. But that one for me, probably more of a summer signing than January. Liverpool. The final word on this video is Liverpool and Slot. For me, I said it months ago. I said months ago that they should be thinking about getting rid of this guy because he's just been continuously taking shots at other football clubs. Manchester City, Chelsea, when they got knocked out of the League Cup by Crystal Palace, he mentions the starting 11s of Chelsea and bringing on players like Estevao, and we can only bring on youngsters, forgetting the fact that at the time when he was speaking, Estevao was 17 years old. You know, he's a youngster. Talking about Manchester City and all the spending, it's very much a whataboutery. And that level of thinking is pointing at others rather than focusing on yourselves and having the balls to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm doing something wrong here. I need to fix the in-house problems rather than saying, what about them and what about them? You know, that attitude to me is not elite level management. The best managers in the world, they do not act like that. They do not say these things. Now, I think Liverpool, they do have a reason to have a concern for this season because the the tragedy of Diogo Jota is a devastating blow to football in general, to be honest. It's an awful situation that's happened. Where do you draw the line on that, though? Because I think, arguably, it's a case of Diogo Jota's loss is going to have an impact on a club like Liverpool, and the player tragedy is going to have its impact. Now, without sounding too heartless and cold, there has to be a line drawn on it because life has to move on, unfortunately. So where do you draw that line? That's the point one. Is it a season? Do you get to write the season off? And then you also have to factor in that no one was really questioning the loss of Diogo Jota in the first 6 games of the season when Liverpool were winning all the time. So it didn't have that big an impact for them to win those games when they were winning those games. Now it's being brought into question again. Personally, I think Slot is just an individual isolated problem for Liverpool, and the Diogo Jota situation is devastating and probably having an effect on certain areas and certain players in particular who maybe were a little bit closer to the player. But ultimately, Slot for me is very much on thin ice, and I think a lot of the Liverpool fan base would probably agree with me. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe to Transfer News Live. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.